East 7th Street, Manhattan. The lunch rush is building outside. Taxi horns echo through the East Village. Construction crews move between job sites. Tourists photograph storefronts. New York does what New York always does. It changes. But behind one wooden door, almost nothing has changed at all. Inside McSorley's old alehouse, the floor is still covered in sawdust. The walls are crowded with newspaper clippings, political cartoons, faded photographs, and relics collected across generations. The beer comes in only two varieties, light or dark. There is no liquor menu, no cocktail list, no televisions, no Wi-Fi, no attempt whatsoever to keep up with trends. Above the bar hang dozens of wishbones.
Behind-the-scenes access to New York's most famous pub, and it is, of course, McSorley's old alehouse.
More than a century ago, young soldiers heading off to the First World War left them there as a promise to return.
Go to the Palace Bar in Dublin, actually, they have Be Good or Be Gone on their wall as well.
The soldiers who came home collected theirs. The ones still hanging belong to the boys who died in Europe. They have not been touched since 1917.
When you walk into McSorley's old alehouse, you are walking into a time capsule.
You feel how old it is, but in a good way.
But the beer isn't the only thing they've held on to over the years. With old photos and artifacts covering its walls, McSorley's isn't just a bar. It's a living museum.
Bart Bartholomew has spent nearly 50 years behind this bar. His son Rafe grew up playing here on Saturday mornings and eventually came to work beside him. Together, they have watched New York transform entirely around them. Yet McSorley's remains stubbornly, almost aggressively, itself. And that raises a question. Why would a city full of skyscrapers, Michelin-starred restaurants, rooftop lounges, and billion-dollar developments keep protecting a 19th-century alehouse that flat-out refuses to modernize? The answer is not beer. The answer is not nostalgia. The answer is Ireland. Or more precisely, an Irish institution that refused to stay in Ireland. Because long before McSorley's became a New York institution, the Irish had spent centuries building something far more important than a drinking establishment.
This building, going back for several centuries, we don't actually know when the pub was built itself. According to old land maps and things like that, we know the building was here in the 1700s, in the early 1700s.
A social technology. A place where strangers became neighbors, where immigrants found jobs, where musicians found audiences. Lonely people found company. Today, approximately 7,000 Irish pubs operate across the United States. Another 7,000 exist across the rest of the world, in 55 countries, in cities where the Irish have never lived in significant numbers. 14,000 total, from Boston to Buenos Aires, Sydney to Singapore, Prague to Cape Town. How does a small island on the edge of Europe create the most replicated social institution in human history? How does a community that arrived in America poor, hungry, and unwanted end up exporting its neighborhood gathering place to the entire world? The answer begins not in America. It begins in Ireland. And it begins with catastrophe. This is the human map, because when people move, the map moves with them. Subscribe and follow the networks quietly reshaping the world. The Irish pub was never originally designed as a place for drinking. it was designed as a place for survival. The term pub is short for public house, and the word is precise. These were literally private homes, first-floor parlor rooms opened to the neighborhood as communal living rooms for the working class. Ancient Irish legal frameworks, called the Brehon Laws, dictated that local landowners were duty-bound to maintain a house of hospitality where weary travelers could stop and gather. The pub was not a commercial operation first. It was a social obligation. In a country where Catholic Irish could not hold public office, attend university, or participate formally in civic life, the pub was the only public space where Irish Catholic community happened openly. The session, musicians gathering informally, playing for the room rather than performing to it, was not entertainment. It was participation. The fiddle in the corner belonged to the house. Everyone in the room was included. And the architecture of the traditional pub encoded its social function. In the corner of many historic pubs sat the snug, a small enclosed booth separated from the main room by wooden partitions and frosted glass. Women used it. Priests who did not want to be seen drinking publicly used it. Off-duty police used it. Anyone who wanted community but also needed privacy. The snug was an architectural response to exclusion, a private space within a public house for the people the public house was not formally supposed to serve. The Irish had considerable practice building institutions for people the main institution excluded. They had been those people. Then the potato failed. The Great Famine of 1845 to 1852 killed 1 million people and drove another million to emigrate in 5 years alone. The vessels, timber ships hastily converted to carry human cargo, became known as coffin ships. An estimated 30% of passengers on some crossings did not survive the Atlantic. Those who reached America found a country that had prepared its answer before they arrived. No Irish need apply. Political cartoons depicted them as apes. The Know Nothing Party built its platform on explicit anti-Irish, anti-Catholic sentiment. What was available without credential, without connection, without anything except a license fee? The saloon. In Worcester, Massachusetts by 1880, while just 1/6 of the city's population was born in Ireland, half of the saloon keepers were Irish. In Philadelphia by 1820, 31 of 83 liquor licenses were held by Irish names. And they built the pub they had carried across the Atlantic in their memory. Not the building, the idea, the habit of gathering, the instinct to recreate community, the belief that community could be rebuilt anywhere people gathered often enough. Many early Irish saloons became spirit groceries, exactly as the pubs back home had been, selling bread, flour, and tobacco alongside ale. Some publicans doubled as undertakers, selling pints and coffins simultaneously to keep their businesses alive. The pub had always been infrastructure. In America, it became that again, rebuilt from scratch on a different continent from the same blueprint. When John McSorley opened his alehouse on East 7th Street in 1854, he was not opening a bar. He was continuing a tradition. He posted one rule above the door that his staff still recite today.
John McSorley's motto, be good or be gone. It means if you act like an idiot, you're gonna get thrown out like an idiot.
He believed, and the bar still says this, that if you leave a man alone with a good mug of ale, he will cause no trouble. In all the years since, they say, there has been none. But the Irish did not simply rebuild the pub in America. They turned it into something the old country had never imagined: a political machine. The Irish did not just rebuild the pub in America. They rebuilt it with political intent. By the late 19th century, Irish-owned saloons had spread across American cities, beside docks, factories, rail yards, and working-class neighborhoods. To outsiders, they looked like drinking establishments. To immigrants, they functioned as something far more useful. Employment offices, political headquarters, union halls, community banks, and neighborhood information centers.
It too is adorned with photos that allude to the pub's illustrious past.
A newly arrived immigrant could walk through a saloon door knowing nobody and leave with a room to rent, a church to attend, and a job lead. This was especially true in New York. During the rise of Tammany Hall, Irish political leaders understood something important. People rarely visited City Hall. People visited pubs. So politics moved to the pub. Ward bosses met voters there. Campaigns were organized there. Patronage was distributed there. One of Tammany's most powerful bosses, Charles Francis Murphy, known as Silent Charlie, owned a saloon. He learned that trust was easier to build across a bar counter than from behind a government desk. The pattern repeated across multiple cities. In Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, railroad laborers gathered in Irish saloons after building the Union Pacific at a mile of track per day across the Great Plains. Dock workers exchanged information. Union organizers recruited members. The same people once excluded from American society began entering its institutions: police departments, fire departments, city governments, courthouses, often through relationships that began in the pub. The community that arrived on coffin ships eventually produced a president. John F. Kennedy, inaugurated in 1961, was the direct descendant of famine refugees. From coffin ship to the Oval Office in 115 years. The pub was the first step of that entire arc. Then, in 1920, the government tried to close the bar. Prohibition was not simply a moral campaign against alcohol. It was, in significant part, an attack on immigrant Catholic political culture, specifically the Irish.
By 1929, American law enforcement is proclaiming prohibition a success.
The Anti-Saloon League, overwhelmingly Protestant, explicitly framed its mission as a defense of American values against immigrant corruption. When politicians spoke about closing the saloons, they were often speaking about closing the Irish political machine's operating headquarters. The Irish went underground. Speakeasies, bootlegging. The institutional knowledge of the bar trade did not evaporate. The Irish had practiced preserving culture under Prohibition. They had done it under British penal laws for 2 centuries. When Prohibition ended in 1933, the saloon returned transformed. The political machinery had been stripped away. What remained was the culture, the neighborhood bar, the thing the law could not legislate away because it was never primarily about the drink. And as political influence faded, another function emerged, one that may be even more valuable in modern cities than it was a century ago. The Irish pub became a cure for loneliness. On a Saturday afternoon in Manhattan's East Village, the door to Mary O's opens. The owner, Mary, an immigrant from County Mayo who has lived in New York for 34 years, runs the bar on human warmth rather than historical preservation. No corporate branding, no polished design. Fresh scones baked from an old family recipe. A traditional music session where anyone who brings an instrument can join. No audition, no performance, just participation. The pub as a living room of the immigrant community, decades after the original immigrants arrived. When 2 Dubliners named Kane and Samantha toured New York's most famous Irish pubs looking for authenticity, Mary O's became their unexpected favorite. Not because it looked the most Irish, because it felt the most Irish.
In an Irish bar, it's not so much about how it looks, it's more the feel. So we're hoping that this feels like a good Irish bar where...
The sociologist Ray Oldenburg called places like this third places, the vital social anchor between the first place of home and the second place of work. A place where people gather without obligation, without appointments, without needing a reason. The manager of the Dead Rabbit, a modern Irish bar in Lower Manhattan, describes the pub's function as a place built for rejuvenation, restoration, and heart. Not entertainment, restoration. McSorley's produces that restoration through radical subtraction. No music, no televisions. Communal tables force strangers to sit beside each other. No private booths to retreat into. When the Today Show host Harry Smith pushed the bartender, incredulous, asking, "No Jamesons? No Bushmills? No Tullamore Dew?" The answer was a flat no. 2 beers, that is all. By stripping every modern distraction, the physical layout replicates the conditions of an 1850s public house, where conversation was the only entertainment available, and the man beside you was, temporarily, your community.
In a day and age where everybody's just on their cell phones and modern technology, it's a nice respite to come into a place where you can feel the history and tell stories of your family being here.
Bart Bartholomew, nearly 50 years behind the bar, his son beside him, is himself the evidence. In the modern hospitality industry, where staff turnover is notoriously high, a half-century tenure is an impossible anomaly. The institution is not the bricks. It is the lineage of human caretakers who treat the space not as a job, but as the framework of their lives. At the other end of the spectrum, Croke Park in South Boston, named after the 82,000-seat Dublin Stadium that is the spiritual home of Gaelic football and hurling, strips the model down even further. Bartender Jerry describes the formula with almost comic simplicity.
Cheap prices, good company, which in the neighborhood band we have a lot of good company here.
$1.50 pints, $3 whiskey shots, free pool. Filmed in a rapidly gentrifying South Boston, the bar keeps prices impossibly low to shield its working-class Irish-American community from the newcomers arriving with money. Jerry notes that while the place looks intimidating from the outside, within an hour, people realize it is just everyday neighborhood people, and they do not want to leave. A software engineer new to New York walks into McSorley's after 6 months in the city. He knows hundreds of people online. He cannot name a single neighbor. By the end of the night, he has spent 3 hours talking to strangers at a communal table, learning more about the city than 6 months of scrolling ever gave him. He leaves knowing 2 things he did not know before: what happened to the wishbones above the bar, and the name of the man who told him. That is the hidden product. Not alcohol. Connection. The Irish pub survived because it offered something technology, politics, and economics could not easily replace. A place where people felt known. But once Irish pubs began appearing in cities where few Irish people actually lived, a difficult question emerged. What exactly makes an Irish pub Irish? Walk into O'Neill's Victorian pub in Dublin and head upstairs. There is a room known as the Michael Collins Room. More than a century ago, Collins, the revolutionary leader who guided Ireland through its War of Independence, used the building during one of the most turbulent periods in Irish history. People still drink beneath it. Conversations continue around it. History in the Irish pub is rarely placed behind glass. It remains part of the furniture. Kieran Ward, manager of O'Neill's, spends much of his time watching visitors from around the world arrive carrying their own ideas about what an Irish pub should be. His definition of authenticity cuts through the decoration argument. An authentic pub is not measured by tourists. It is measured by regulars. The same faces, the same corner stools, the same conversations, year after year. Once the regulars disappear, the mechanism breaks. The pub may still look Irish, but it no longer functions like one. Ward also issues a direct warning to visiting Americans, one that reveals the specific gap between how Irish culture is romanticized abroad and how it is lived at home. Two drinks that appear casually on American bar menus land very differently in Ireland. The black and tan is ordered in America as a novelty layered drink. In Ireland, the black and tans were a brutal British paramilitary force sent to terrorize the Irish population during the War of Independence. Their legacy remains raw. The Irish car bomb is a popular American drop shot. In Ireland, car bombings were a horrific reality of the Troubles that killed hundreds of citizens, often in streets adjacent to the very Dublin pubs tourists now visit. The lesson? Authenticity requires understanding, not just imitation. When the two Dubliners audited New York's famous pubs, their verdicts mapped the full spectrum. McSorley's impressed them with its artifacts, its strict rules, its stubborn refusal to change. But they described it as serious, museum-like, a place to admire rather than necessarily a place to stay all night. Mario's produced the opposite reaction: smaller, less famous, far less polished, yet somehow closest to home. The Connollys in Times Square, sprawling across multiple floors with rooftop views and a full cocktail menu, they described plainly as a bar dressed up as an Irish pub, rather than actually feeling like one. The Guinness Harp dispute captures the Irish pub's relationship to its own culture with perfect precision. When Arthur Guinness signed his lease on the St. James's Gate Brewery in 1759, he signed it for 9,000 years. When Ireland became a free state in 1922, the government wanted the legendary Brian Boru Celtic harp as its national symbol. Guinness had already trademarked it. The solution? The Irish government legally had to flip the harp to face left, while the Guinness logo faces right. The state and the brewery have been using the same symbol, mirrored, ever since. A permanent, slightly absurd negotiation between national identity and commercial institution, which is, in microcosm, the story of the Irish pub itself. An Irish immigrant living in Queens enters Mary O's after a difficult week. The session starts. Someone offers him a seat. Another person asks where he is from. Within minutes, he is discussing County Clare with strangers who have never been there. The room does not know his story, yet somehow it already understands it. And once people discovered how to reproduce that feeling, the Irish pub stopped being a neighborhood institution. It became a global export. In 1991, a company called the Irish Pub Concept was founded in Dublin. Its business model had no precedent in the history of hospitality. Design, manufacture, and export complete Irish pub interiors, aged timber, stained glass, snugs, bar fittings, period signage, authentic memorabilia, flat packed in shipping containers to any country on earth. A pub owner in Tokyo, Moscow, Sao Paulo, or Dubai could order a complete Irish pub from a catalog, receive it in containers, and open a fully assembled Irish drinking experience within weeks. No Irish person required. By the late 1990s, Irish Pub Concept and its competitors had shipped over 1,800 complete pubs to 55 countries. The Irish government actively promoted the Irish pub as a trade export alongside whiskey and wool. The pub had become both a cultural institution and a global product. In New York alone, the same concept evolved into completely different forms. McSorley's chose preservation: 2 beers, no spirits, communal tables, sawdust on the floor, the same as 1854. The Dead Rabbit opened in Lower Manhattan in 2013 and named after the notorious 1850s Irish-American street gang formed to protect famine immigrants from anti-Irish violence, chose reinvention. Its walls feature work by over 100 living Irish artists. Its music director curates contemporary Irish musicians rather than looping 19th-century folk tunes. The manager is direct about what they are resisting. We don't say top of the morning to each other, and we don't have leprechauns running about the place. Irish culture as a living, evolving force, not a costume. The question every hospitality analyst asks is the same. Why the Irish pub and not any other ethnic drinking tradition? The Italian enoteca, the German beer hall, the Greek taverna, all with equally long histories and equally passionate communities. Why did the Irish institution conquer the world when the others did not? The answer is crack, the untranslatable Irish word for the specific combination of good conversation, humor, music, and shared humanity that the pub produces. The Irish pub is the only ethnic drinking institution explicitly designed for strangers. Its physical layout, long bar, communal tables, no private booths, prevents isolation architecturally. Its tradition of the session creates participation rather than spectatorship. Its culture demands conversation across social distance. That quality was not imported from Ireland. It was forged in the conditions of being the most excluded immigrant community in 19th-century America. When you are kept out of everywhere, you build a place that keeps nobody out. When you understand what it means to need a community and have none, you build an institution that manufactures community on demand. 3 people walk into Irish pubs on the same evening. 1 in Singapore, 1 in Chicago, 1 in Melbourne. None of them know each other. None are Irish. Each immediately understands the room, the layout, the energy, the unspoken invitation to stay a little longer than planned. The formula traveled further than the people who invented it. That may be the most remarkable achievement of all. The Irish did not merely migrate. Their institutions migrated with them. John D. McGurk's Irish Pub and Garden in St. Louis, Missouri, far from any major Irish diaspora, brings musicians directly from Ireland to maintain the atmosphere and pours more Guinness than any other bar in the state. The Buena Vista in San Francisco has served Irish coffees since 1952. Doyle's in Boston, opened since 1882, now sits next to the Sam Adams Brewery and has outlasted every prediction of its obsolescence. McGillen's Old Ale House in Philadelphia opened in 1860, 6 years after McSorley's, with the owner's wife and 13 children living upstairs, survived the Civil War, the 1918 influenza, and prohibition without losing its identity. These bars are not selling Guinness. They are selling belonging. And belonging, it turns out, is the one product that travels without losing anything in translation. More than 170 years after John McSorley opened a small ale house on East 7th Street, people are still walking through the same door. The sawdust remains. The wishbones still hang from the gas lamp, untouched since 1917. The 2 beers are still light or dark. Bart Bartholomew is still behind the bar. His son is beside him. The Irish did not invent alcohol. They did not invent taverns. They did not invent gathering. What they built was something more durable, a system for turning rooms into communities. A place where immigrants found work, where politicians built power, where musicians found audiences, and where lonely people found company. A community arrived starving, despised, and carrying signs that said, "No Irish need apply." They took the only business America would give them, rebuilt the institution they had carried across the Atlantic in their memory, and used it to run cities, elect presidents, and export belonging to every continent on Earth. 14,000 Irish pubs, 55 countries, every climate, every language, still selling the same thing John McSorley sold in 1854. Not beer, people. And for nearly 2 centuries, people have been buying it. This is the human map. Because when people move, the map moves with them. And sometimes what they build follows them to every corner of the earth. Subscribe and follow the networks quietly reshaping the world.